Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Andrea Rinkus. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you. Everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
And whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Even better, all of our guests are local small business owners who you can actually talk to and work with. You can learn more about today's guest and connect with hundreds of other health and wellness professionals through our informative and easy-to-use directory at motherhoodalliance.com.
Before we get started, keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for personal healthcare advice. Please consult your healthcare provider before making any changes based on the podcast content.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Are you ready to help your family thrive? Let's get started. Hi, we are Britt and Drea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to welcome you to a 4-episode series with Marie Hammen, who is a registered nurse, infusion nurse specialist, nutritional therapy practitioner, and the owner of Live Wellness IV. Marie started her career as an ER nurse, but she eventually started looking for something different and discovered a casual IV infusion job. She quickly saw the benefits of IV infusion therapy, which sparked an excitement to learn more about functional and preventative medicine, especially because at the time she was going through her own medical hurdles and was left with only answers of surgery and medications. At the time, she was also in her master's program, so she decided to pivot and pursue a nutritional therapy program instead. The more she learned, the more she fell in love with preventative medicine, and she knew that she couldn't carry out her passion and mission in the ER anymore. And with that, her business, Live Wellness IV, was born. Outside of work, Marie is an avid creator and loves to make everything from scratch, whether it's food, home products, or diving into homesteading techniques. She's been happily married to her husband Neil for almost 11 years and is the proud mother of 4 kiddos and their dog, who is awesomely named Gramps. The IV infusion world is gaining popularity, but not many people know about it, which is why we were beyond excited to sit down with Marie to ask all of the questions. And in addition to that, Marie makes her own tallow-based skincare products, and she just recently started a business around that, and we just had to dedicate an entire episode to learning about that with her as well. We learned a ton in our 4 episodes together, and we know you will too. So without further ado, let's jump into today's conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 3 with Marie. If you have not listened to our first 2 episodes, they were super interesting. We talked all about IV infusions and injectables with vitamins. This is a fairly new thing to Northeast Wisconsin, but it's been around for quite a while. And so go back and listen to those episodes. We asked a million questions and Marie answered them all. But today we're focusing on one specific item you have on your menu, and it's called NAD. Why did you choose this one to kind of pull out and highlight?
NAD can definitely use its own category. I mean, vitamins alone, it's hard. If you go back with the previous episodes, it's really hard to talk about them in such a short time frame. But NAD is something that people don't hear of. You hear of vitamin C, you hear of zinc, B12. Those are things that everybody is well known to. But NAD is something that people haven't heard of, or if they heard of it, they don't know specifically on how it helps.
So is it a vitamin?
It is a coenzyme.
What does that mean?
Our body naturally produces NAD. NAD stands for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide.
Say that 5 times fast.
Right. So in short, NAD. So we'll call it NAD. But our body, it's a coenzyme our body naturally produces. It is really in our mitochondria of our cells. So if you look at our cells, the powerhouse of our cells, what really makes our cells dry, grow, multiply, NAD is really supporting that function. So as we age, we naturally lose NAD. Statistically, they say around age 40 or 50, we lose about 50% of our naturally occurring NAD. This can change, again, from all outside reasons, population or pollution, what we're eating, what we're drinking. Medications, again, are going to deplete us of certain vitamins along with NAD. Any chronic illnesses, any acute illnesses. So we're slowly losing this coenzyme. NAD has been around since the 1960s.
As a supplement is what you're saying. Because it's naturally produced in our body, but now as a supplement, it's been around since the 1960s.
As a supplement, and they've been doing IV infusions of NAD.
Okay.
This was something that I've never heard of until I started looking into the IV world.
So just to kind of wrap my head around this a little bit, we've had some like hormone replacement professionals, experts come on our podcast before, and it's like talking about how our hormones decrease with age. Is this kind of similar in concept? Obviously a different function, but similar in concept of you're replacing something that our body is producing less of?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. What our body produces less of and what we're losing, on our daily lives. So everything that we're putting in our bodies, we're essentially depleting something out. Unless you're really, again, everything that's coming in is clean, nutrient dense. So
you said that it was been used since the 1960s medically. What did they use it medically for back then? And even I assume they still use it in hospitals now if needed, but what is their perspective on it? And is there a difference between that perspective and then what you use it for in your practice?
So we still use it for the same reason.
Okay.
It's not used in hospitals.
Oh,
so again,
okay.
Hospitals with vitamins, this is when pharmaceutical companies come into play. They're not profiting. Again, I have a strong appreciation for the medical field, for pharmacies. They're there. They offer us life-saving medications when we need it. But I also think there's different ways that, again, we can look at root cause, ways to prevent certain diseases. So it's more of an alternative use. Since the 1960s, it's been used for the same reasons why we use it today, really looking at those neural changes, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, autoimmune disorders.
I have a question. When you say like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, so if somebody is more at risk, perhaps like, their grandparents or their parents have had this, Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or whatever, can you take NAD as like a kind of precaution? Is there some way, some way that you can take it to make it seem like that you're maybe not going to get that or support?
Can it almost slow, if you have a predisposition to a certain disease within your family, can it slow the progression of it?
So yes, NAD can be used just like if you listen to the past episodes with the IV infusions, is more preventative. I will say everything done for preventative, anything in life, if you're really looking at your health, you don't want to wait until you get sick to start doing something. Doing preventative measures is always going to be best. So yes, so for NAD, not saying that if you do this, you will not get XYZ, but it can lessen your chances of it. So studies have shown that when you take it, you're regenerating those mitochondria, your cells are functioning much better, your brain health is more supported, every organ in your body is more well supported.
So is it all about energy, or it's just deeper?
It's more deeper. It's not just about energy, but our cells need energy to live, to grow, to carry out their functions. So as we age, as we decline, that's just becoming less and less. And then that can be why we're getting more chronically, we're more ill, we're more fatigued because our cells aren't functioning like they used to.
Okay.
Our metabolism, everything kind of slows.
So it's more about the cell energy, which will trickle into your overall energy, right? It's not just your I'm going to get up and do all the things. It's more about deeper cell.
NAD is not an infusion that when somebody comes in and they're just looking for an immunity boost. NAD is not one that I go to right away. For one, people don't know a lot about NAD, and NAD can be a pretty intense infusion. So we start you off at lower milligrams, and as you come in, keep coming in for these infusions, we can slowly increase your milligram dosage. So when I say that they're intense, so the IV is started just like any other infusion, but when the medication goes in, NAD is best given in its pure form without other vitamins. So a lot of people will get their IV NAD bag, and then some will follow it up with a vitamin infusion bag. because NAD is going to go in there, really clean, detoxify. It's almost similar to that glutathione that I've talked about in the previous episode, where it's a big detoxifier. It's going to get rid of those free radicals. But then these vitamins will kind of come in, replenish, kind of repair and clean up. But NAD, once it starts going through the infusion line, you can get symptoms such as flushing. You might feel anxious, might cause GI upset, like cramping, nausea, vomiting. These are, again, not everybody's going to feel them. They might not be that intense for everybody. But with NAD, unlike the other infusions, you're in control of the rate that it's going. So these are much slower infusions. When you look at the vitamin infusions, on average, they go around 45 minutes. With our NAD, even people starting at lower doses, like 250 milligrams, it can take a couple hours.
Oh, wow.
I've had one client that took close to like a 3.5 hour. I will say the more chronically ill and repair that your body needs, the more intense these infusions are going to feel for you.
So it's like it happens right then and there as soon as you're.
It does. It's
Wow.
it's really fascinating. I've done a few for myself, and it'll come in waves, and you can kind of slow it down. And so it's a different mindset that you have to be in. So these infusions aren't for everybody. Like I said, if you're just trying infusions, unless you're really like prepared in the mindset for these, wouldn't be my first place to start.
So are these really just for somebody with more of a chronic illness, like the ones you mentioned earlier? Or is this a good thing for wellness as well, where you kind of have to, as long as you're prepared for these short-term side effects, you have long-term gains?
Absolutely. I mean, these can benefit everybody. And we have different protocols set up. So if you're really coming in and you're looking, so if you've seen on the news, NAD is big for anti-aging. I think you said it, the fountain of youth, because it's really going to help with that cell damage, with the oxygen. It's going to help with skin health, everything, getting those toxins out. People don't realize the toxins that we hold into our body, and they're just trying to be released. But if our liver's not functioning, organs aren't functioning properly, we can't get rid of these toxins. So we have different protocols set up. If you're coming in for anti-aging, we can do so many infusions a week of NAD. Same with the neural conditions. These are great for individuals with autoimmune, individuals who are struggling with alcohol addictions, drug addictions. So they have different protocols set up.
What about after chemotherapy or anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. I've had some people that came in post chemotherapy, and they have said that they can feel more of those intense sensations or the pain where their cancer was, or if it was spread out, they might have a full body of these side effects where they can kind of feel like the pain, the cramping. It's really going to the cells that need the most repair. There has been some, again, these infusions aren't meant to diagnose, to treat. There has been some individuals that have came in with conditions that they were unaware of, but they were having pain in a certain area of their body intensely after these infusions. They went into their doctor and they ended up finding that they had more of these illnesses.
Wow.
Cancer.
Fascinating.
Wow. Okay. So I'm a visual person, and as I'm listening to you, I'm kind of like getting this silly image in my head of like those cartoons where you see your cells and they all have like little faces and arms and stuff. And it's like NAD is coming in and it's really kind of flushing out the bad cells, the toxicity, the dead stuff, things like, like you were saying, if there's like remnants of cancer treatments, and just it's flushing all the bad stuff, but then it's like turbo boosting and bulging the muscles of the good cells.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I just find it fascinating. It's like instant.
Yes. And this was something that we were offering, but I wanted to know firsthand what it felt like.
Yeah.
So I had an NAD infusion myself, and it was very interesting. So I have clients that come in, and depending on what they're feeling, they have different side effects. even like sitting side by side when friends come in, one can be struggling, having more issues GI, and one will come in and I have like an individual that struggled after COVID with brain fog. They get more congested, sinus effects after.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
It's really fascinating. And it's fascinating too, like almost their symptoms kind of give a little,
kind of mirror.
Yeah, maybe what's the most damaged.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So I'm still kind of going back and comparing this in my mind, and I know it's way different, but kind of comparing this in my mind of the conversations we've had around hormone replacement. And one of the questions we asked then was, how is this derived? Like, hormones are produced naturally in our body. Well, they've been able to use plants to like bring, to get the hormones. And now they have, instead of using synthetic hormones, which are still made, you can get more natural hormones. So this is different though. So what are you actually putting in your body in the infusion? How is this producing this powerhouse that our body naturally produces and putting it in a form that scientists have made? What is it made from?
Yeah, it's taking part of that. It's a synthetic part of that coenzyme of NAD. So it's taking part of that, but at much higher doses. You can get so the IV is going to be the most intense, really getting in. We do also offer sub-Q injections of NAD. So the sub-Q is going to be more subtle. It absorbs you have slower absorption versus like an IM injection, which is into the muscle. So your typical, like if you were to get like a vaccine, or that's just an example of it going into the muscle. So with NAD, people do get injections of it. If you're coming in for your first time, we don't do the muscle. We won't do injections into the muscle because of those side effects. You can still get those side effects. So the quickest absorption is IV. The next would be into the muscle. The slowest absorption route is into the subcutaneous tissue or that outer fat tissue. So with the IV, you're going to get those intense side effects. You can slow it down. You can control it. When you do sub-Q, that's in your outer fat tissue. It's going to have very slow absorption. So you might not feel those intense side effects.
Is that less of a dose though?
It is less of a dose. Yeah. So our standard sub-Q injections will start you off around like 50 milligrams, and you can go up. Our protocol is up to 200 milligrams in a week, but you'd have to use multiple sites. So there's different ways. So that would be our slowest absorption. And again, like I said, you're not going to get those intense side effects. So if somebody's coming in for their first time, we're not going to do the IM, because once that goes in, there's not much we can do to help with the side effects, if that makes sense. Versus the sub-Q is going to be very slow. So side effects aren't going to be as intense. In the IV, you can slow it down to adjust those symptoms.
And obviously they're just sitting there and you can help them with whatever they're going through.
Now, if you went on Amazon, there's NAD supplements nowadays, right? And we talked a lot about supplements and how little of an absorption rate there can actually be happening in our prior episode, in episode 2. But this is available in supplement form. Is it also available as like a topical cream? So if someone's going for, getting caught up in the anti-aging and skin health, is there a topical cream? Is there any validity to those? Or is really like the IV infusion and getting it directly into your body really the best way to have your body use this from the inside out?
Yes. So our IVs are IV NAD, just like with anything, that's going to be your best option. You know that you're getting more of that higher volume, what your body's absorbing. There are many different forms of NAD out there, just like any other supplements. Like you mentioned, topical, drops, capsules. Each one has a different absorption rate. So with each different type of product out there, like you've mentioned, there's drops, there's topical form, there's the capsules. Those are all going to be different absorption, and it's going to be at a much lower dose than the IV.
Is it, is it still, if you take even a little bit of the NAD supplements, it's still going to make a little bit of a difference at least.
Yes,
especially
absolutely.
A high quality supplement.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So NAD can be expensive. So this is where I have that conversation with people when they're looking at IVs for more wellness. What's your long-term goal? Because then you can almost get it's almost like essentially more bang for your buck when you're looking at the vitamin infusions, right? Everything, we want to do what's best for our body. So whether that's coming in twice a month for one of our like signature IV infusion blends, or if you come in every 4 to 6 weeks for an NAD, we'll kind of talk about like the difference, the goals that you're looking for, the more drastic changes that you want to see, because sometimes going the NAD route might actually be more beneficial to you than coming in once a week for an immunity infusion.
It actually might be exactly what you need versus
Absolutely. And it could save you, money. Everything is cost. I always try to, I don't want to revolve everything around money, but cost is a big thing for people. So I want to do what's more affordable for people, but then what also makes sense for you and for what your body and for what you need.
Yeah, I would feel like it would be interesting to see like a comparison chart or to have like a conversation talking about like, well, what supplements do you take and like at home versus if you came in and did the infusions or did the NAD, having that kind of comparison, because that would really help people understand like what's really going to be the most benefit from and bang for their buck.
Yes, and I have people that have been on NAD for years getting these infusions, and they can start coming off some of their medications. It's helping with cellular repair. Anxiety and depression is big. I've had people that have been able to come off some of their anxiety medications. So it's really helping almost every function in your body.
Well, that's why it's called the fountain of youth, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the person that you said has been coming in for years. How often does someone like that come in?
So just like other infusions, they can kind of sense on when their body needs it. So some people are very regimen, where they come in every 4 weeks, every 3 weeks, and some can kind of feel like I have individuals that are like, I just kind of feel fatigued, kind of have the brain fog, just not as clear thinking. I'm due for an infusion because again, stress is going to deplete us from those vitamins, from those nutrients. So you might need it a little bit more frequently, especially looking at the time of the year. Infusions are more increased during the holidays, during our sick season. There's a lot more stress. So if you look at immunity in general, over our holidays, we're kind of stuck inside. We're in close quarters with individuals. We consume more sugar. We have a lot more stress. We're not sleeping. We're overusing our caffeine. I mean, all of these things are just depleting us from these nutrients in our vitamins. So your body may be more beneficial to have these infusions more frequently. And then in our summer months, you're outside more. We have less illness. You feel better. We're getting that natural vitamin D where you might not need them as frequently.
I learned a lot in this episode.
Fascinating.
And I want to thank you for diving into this and choosing it as its own episode, because I do feel like I've seen NAD, and you guys who are listening, when you actually see this like on a product, it's often NAD with a plus sign next to it. So that's the same thing of what we're talking about. Is that correct, Marie?
That's correct.
Okay. Just to make sure that there's no confusion there. But I have seen this out there and I haven't done much research into it. And so I feel like this conversation was just so great to kind of understand the benefits behind it. And my mind is honest. Like, I feel like I have to chew on this a little bit and be like, wow, and just really maybe do some more research to understand the true value behind it, if it's a good fit for me, things like that. So thank you for choosing this and sharing your knowledge with us in this episode and our prior episodes so far. So we talked about infusions and Live Wellness IV specifically in these 3 episodes. Before we close out this one, I do just want to know, like, what is your favorite aspect of your business and offering the services that you do?
It's the people. I get very passionate about helping people. So that was very hard with leaving the ER, but I found my niche, and that the people that come in to see me are looking for more of those preventative, natural ways to feel better and to get to the root cause, not just I'm going to take this medication for the rest of my life, and then I'm going to have to take this one for this side effect, and then this one to cover this, and then now I'm at a higher dose. But people's mentality, their shift in going to the root cause is really changing. And it's very exciting. It makes me really happy.
It, right?
Yeah, I'm
You're here for it.
Well, and
I'm
like
so excited.
You can sleep well at night. Like there's oftentimes I'm often talking to my kids about different nutrition things. We were talking about food dyes recently, and they're just like, how can companies make food with food dyes in them when they know they're hurting people? And it's like, I know, like how can people sleep at night when they're producing products that are actually hurting people? But this is something where those of us who are working in the wellness industry, we really have a heart to just link arms and like create this wave of natural options so people can live their best, right? And their families can live their best.
Absolutely.
So again, at the end of this episode, I do want to mention that Marie is offering 10% off any IV infusion service when you mention that you heard about her through our podcast. So thank you for offering that. And if someone would like to take advantage of that or just contact you with any other questions, what is your website?
My website is www.livewellnessiv.com, and that's LIVE. And my email listed on there, my phone number, you can call, text, and I also have a Facebook that you can get a hold of me on too.
Awesome. So great. I have learned so much in these 3 episodes, but we're not done with you yet. But we are going to pivot our topic a little bit because you are really passionate about having clean skin and beauty products and more naturally based in those arena as well. So much so that you've actually started another business in this area. So in our next episode, we're going to be talking about specifically you make your products with tallow. And I know that's kind of all over the internet right now. Dre and I have actually made some products with lard, but all like naturally based products. So we're going to have a really fun conversation about that one coming up. If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.